Welcome to Trial Site News Podcast Series. Today we'll be discussing the Phase 2 Speak Freely study, which is a multicenter randomized double-blind placebo-controlled parallel group exploratory study in adult subjects with childhood onset fluency disorder, essentially a study directed at adults with stuttering issues. Now, to help us talk about this, we're honored to have Dr. Gerald Maguire from the University of California, Riverside here with us today. Now, Dr. Maguire is on the board of directors at the World Stuttering Network. He is board certified by the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology and is a distinguished fellow of the American Psychiatric Association. So, Doctor, welcome.
Thank you very much.
The pleasure is ours.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, can you share with our audience what drove you into research and specifically what caused you to focus on this particular disorder?
Great. Well, great question. I like to say my interest in the research of stuttering began around age 3 when I began to talk. I'm a person who stutters, quite a bit of stuttering in my family as well. My older brother, who's since passed away, he stuttered. My maternal uncle stuttered. I got some cousins as well who stuttered. So even as early as like kindergarten, sitting in class and saying, what is different with my brain? What's unique? What is here? Feeling the anxiety, the avoidance others with that, but also feeling something that's just not quite clicking in my brain, that some days it's there and some days it's not. And that's something that most people stutter say, like, today's a good day or not. So I noticed that early on in my life as a person who stutters and was driven. Background with my father, a physician, a psychiatrist, my mother, a nurse, like, hey, this is my opportunity. And for me to really have that focus in my life.
Now, you kind of touched on it here with talking
Yeah,
about your own childhood past, but what are the impacts and issues that children face with this condition?
it can be very challenging for individuals. There's unfortunately there's shame, there's bullying, there's also misjudgment, bias against us as well. That we may not be as intelligent or bright, or even individuals who might be in their way well-meaning, giving advice. Well, I even got it growing up. Oh, you can't be a doctor. If you are going to be a doctor, you should be a psychiatrist. You'll make your patients uncomfortable. You have to. So all these statements, be they conscious or unconscious, leads to us at times having negative thoughts for ourselves. People who stutter, there's a lot of social anxiety that develops. It's also wired that we may be more anxious or in speaking situations, especially, and that can directly impact us. But to be mindful, stuttering is not an anxiety disorder. It's coexistent with it. But we people who stutter, there's the biologic wiring, and we'll talk about that a little more, seems to be different and deficient in our brains in the timing and the initiation of speech. For me, yeah, it's always a challenge to kind of move on. Other people, unfortunately, they can suffer from depression from this as well. My older brother, unfortunately, passed away, unfortunately, from stuttering, from depression and suicide in many aspects as well. So this can have a deep impact on a person, not just on the quality of life, but much more than that, the choice of occupation and so forth. So that's why it's so important to have a comprehensive approach and to give individuals who stutter hope and empowerment for the future and for today.
Well, we're sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
terrible.
you. Yeah. Thanks.
So let's shift
Yeah.
then to the Speak Freely study. How did it
Yeah.
start and what made it possible?
Great. So we were, as I've been involved in pharmacologic research of stuttering, we did some of the early work with the typical antipsychotics early on. I really want to thank some of the pioneers in my field before. Dr. John Paul Grady, who was at Pennsylvania, wrote a great review article right when I was finishing medical school, came out in the American Journal of Psychiatry about the pharmacology of stuttering. I thought, well, this is great. I was interested in studying stuttering more. That became a focus for me in my residency, where we did the first PET imaging study published in stuttering. that led to us understanding about the biology, a little bit more of stuttering, and leading to the dopamine theories. We published then some work with some of the dopamine agents, building upon some of the earlier work a couple of decades before. And then about 5 years ago, I was approached by the biotech company that had the rights to the molecule of ecopipam, and approached us to see if we would do a clinical research trial. Fortunately, we funded that at UC Riverside and take any salary, anything like that. It was funded through a generous donation from philanthropic individuals, namely Mr. Robert Granville Kirk, from his nice donation to our university for us to find ways, new treatments for those who stutter. And that's how we studied the beginning, the open label study that we published about a year and a half ago. It's kind of a proof of concept. It was a philanthropic study that the biotech company provided us just active medicine. That was it. And then from there, it was picked up, and now Amylex has the compound and has developed this multicenter study, with us being site number one in this trial, and put forth the protocol, the design, and everything else, and getting hopefully close to my dream of developing viable FDA-approved treatments for those people who stutter like me.
Now, speaking of
Yeah.
UC Riverside, you're
Yeah.
serving as the principal investigator here. Can you share
Yeah.
more about the importance of the support of such a prominent university?
Yeah, I think it's very important. It's important that the academic world helps lead the effort in novel treatment discovery, the basic science. We have a great linkage here with my colleagues at the National Institute of Health as well, where we're developing targeted treatments based upon really from bench to bedside. So here we got our clinical focus, having the University of California, Riverside, which is a relatively new med school. I'm the founding chair here to really get that research going, and also that we are a unique med school, and that we're in a more underserved area of our state, and to be able to provide a viable cutting edge treatments. We have the basic science team behind us on that, and being able to also develop a way where we can provide education to the next generation of physicians about the importance of medication discovery, and how it's important to have a collaborative environment as well too, where my role as a professor is to impart that education and that love for science, that love for lifelong learning to our medical students, our psychiatry residents as well.
So let's talk then about the drug ecopipam made by Amylex.
Yeah.
What are the pros and the cons of this drug?
Great. Well, we're still learning, right? We're learning. That's the importance of this trial. There's some earlier data as they studied in other conditions like obesity. In other dopamine agents that work on the D2 system, there are positives and negatives of those. These are agents that are typically approved for bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, some for Tourette's disorder as well. Those agents can lead to some metabolic issues, some movement disorders. Ecopipam, I should say, works on the D1 system, so should be devoid of the movement disorder side effects and the metabolic side effects. In fact, some of the earlier studies in obesity showed a signal actually for some weight loss. But there's some thought, though, that dopamine is involved in reward, right? And so we have to be mindful. There were some signals in the obesity trials years ago about depression, perhaps, and suicidal thoughts. So we're monitoring those very closely in the stuttering research trials.
Now, what would be the key goal with the findings in this study, and when do you think we would have results available?
Great question. We're delayed a little bit by COVID with the start, but we're enrolling now. The key findings would be hopefully, right, showing a signal of a difference between active medication and placebo, of a treatment effect of improving stuttering symptoms as measured on the frequency and the duration of the stuttering events and the quality of life, and how that may be. And then also looking at the safety of the agent. Hopefully we'll see it's safe. There's early data show there's a safety. Hopefully we're going to continue to monitor about the effects on the potential effects on mood and other things like that. Hopefully see the benefits as we surmise on movement disorder and the metabolics that the other compounds may be associated, the other D2 agents would be. I would, it's going to take, hopefully get some data within, actually publish. I hope in a year and a half or something like that. I don't know. By the time, you go through everything with that, I have to really kind of rely on the sponsor for that to see, when they continue to wrap up. It is very easy to recruit excellent subjects with these studies. People who stutter are just very interested in having treatments. We have no FDA approved treatments for this condition. This is not a condition that we invented as psychiatrists to say, oh, what is this thing that they've come up with? The ancient Greek orator, Demosthenes, stuttered. It's been throughout recorded history that stuttering has existed. Every language has a word for stuttering. So it's out there. So I would give us, a year and a half or something like that to really get the results, but I have to kind of talk to the sponsor a little more about the enrollment. It's going to enroll fast, and that, but we don't want to. We could enroll fast. We want to make sure we have really good subjects, really good data, and that's where say people are really hungry for viable treatment options for their stuttering.
Right. Now, speaking of partnerships,
Right.
are you interested in developing, and are there other research centers and sites or sponsors that you're interested in?
Yeah, the sponsor has set up other clinical trial sites for the study. Now, our disclosure will soon be having announcements about other compounds. What's interesting about this is that this is a study I think that's bringing forward to individuals. Say, hey, this is a market. It's 1% of the population, even higher in children. It's been a true unmet medical need. And other groups and companies are saying, hey, this is a market. It's a real unmet medical need for individuals who start to have a viable, helpful treatment for them. So yeah, I think this is just the beginning of a revolutionary change. I really think in the next few years, you're really going to see that pharmacologic treatment of stuttering will be kind of the mainstay, and will partner just like with the treatment of depression or anxiety disorders, or a comprehensive care where we'll work with psychotherapy and speech therapy, et cetera, in a comprehensive manner to treat those who stutter, with physicians playing a central role in the treatment of stuttering, given the targets that we know and the early data that we have with other doping agents that aren't FDA approved, but no one ever went for the funding with those that aren't FDA approved. But every study of a dopamine agent in stuttering has shown benefit in those trials. There's not a negative study published. So the evidence in the background is fairly strong. We just got to get something to the market. And I think there'll be hopefully just the beginning. And I really look forward to reviewing the study results and going on with this very, very important trial.
That's fantastic. And we'll definitely
Yeah.
be watching your progress over here at
Thank you.
Trailside News. Yeah.
Thank you.
So for our audience, for those
Yeah.
interested, what kind of resources or support organizations exist for stuttering and related disorders?
Great. We're throughout the world now, and I think it's been very important. We were before, like driving to a meeting or things like that. A group that's really started to take off over just the last year is a group called World Stuttering Network, and it's we're online with Facebook, et cetera. It's really kind of the focus to kind of bring everybody together and not have this group or that group. It's global. World Stuttering Network, the WSN. There's also another great organization here called Friends for young people who stutter. There's an International Stuttering Association. There's a Stuttering Foundation of America as well that provides stuff. And there's also the National Stuttering Association here in the US where I was actively involved, and really looking forward with now World Stuttering Network, bringing on really embracing kind of this approach of inclusiveness and understanding and education. World Stuttering Network is now partnering with Google
Wow.
to, yeah, we're gonna, it's really big now, and we'll be able to reach the entire globe with this message. Partnering well with others, such great organizations as the Canadian Stuttering Association, the Senegal Stuttering Association group that we've had so much. Or people, I get tons of emails and Facebook requests, et cetera, every day, tens of 20s of people who stutter who really want help and they really want education. And that's why through the World Stuttering Network and these other organizations, we're really going to educate the world. There's still discrimination in the workplace. And so we focus with the advocacy with our groups to focus on the ability of the person, not the disability, and to allow it for that inner person to have a little more freedom, empowerment, hope, and be able to speak their voice, their mind, and not to, and to be able to achieve anything in their life that they are capable of doing, and not. And I think it's very important to that it's the capability is not based upon fluent speech. I've learned this for a long time as a person who stutters and as a psychiatrist, that patients value so much more compassion, empathy, and listening than they do fluency. But if we could give ourselves an easier time and be able to us literally speak freely, that's empowerment and that is choice as well.
Now, before I let you go
Yeah,
today, Dr.
yeah,
McGuire, is there any other
yeah.
information you'd like to share with the Trial Site News Network?
Yeah, I just want to say I want to thank the great folks at the MLX for believing in this. I've been approaching different companies for years to say, hey, here's some ideas. We go for it. They get it. I'm really thankful for them for believing in us as persons who stutter, investing in this, and giving us all a hope for the future. I'm very thankful for that, and I think it's important. I'm thankful to the folks at Trial Site News to get this information out as well, so that we have more knowledge for those who stutter, and let them know that the research is ongoing, help is there, and further help is on the way.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
McGuire, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.